big soul, a big soul, a big soul, a big soul.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to the Big Soul podcast, Big Soul, a musical journey. We're really excited to be here today. I'm here with my bandmate, Caroline Wumpel. Hi, Caroline.
Hey, Kenneth, how you doing?
I'm doing great, and I'm feeling very enthusiastic about this episode because we're going to talk about really how it is that a small California band ended up going to France. So when we left off, we were in LA, we were selling our CDs at shows. So set the stage for us, Caroline. How is it that we left LA and moved to San Francisco?
Yeah, so we were in LA, and I think we always knew that we were going to move on. Most of our friends from New College were living in San Francisco. We liked the city. We liked that it was walkable and it was right on the water and all of these different things. And also we had gone there and visited and had gone to a show at the Paradise Lounge, if you remember. And we just had this feeling about like the audience was so cool and so supportive and loving. I mean, there's no other way to say it. We just felt like it was a really different scene for bands there, and that you could actually have what we had been trying to create for so many years in LA and had never quite succeeded at.
Yeah, I really feel like San Francisco was really more our vibe. And It was just easier to get a following. We very quickly, we started playing at a lot of clubs, especially the Paradise Lounge. And we kind of became the house bands there. And so we played there a lot. We played other shows. We had outdoor concerts. Our drummer, JD, who had played with us in LA, moved to San Francisco. He became our drummer there. And it was just a really great scene for us. And even though we were working jobs, you were working in a preschool, I was working at SF Weekly, we were playing a lot of shows and having a lot of fun. And in the middle of all this, one day we got a fax from a DJ in Paris. And this DJ, he said his name was Jacques Dumas, and he wanted to get in touch with us because he had our album. And so he felt like we had potential to do something in France. But what was our response, Caroline, to that fax?
Yeah, I think that it would just, we'd always had a dream to move to Paris or to move to Europe or England. We had this thought that we would, find more support for our band there. But the thought of picking up our lives and our jobs and our cats and our house and going to France was just, it wasn't really a reality that we could do. But it was always in the back burner. And this idea that somehow our music was over there was kind of cool. But we were focused at the time on San Francisco. And it was a really cool time to be in San Francisco, too, because the band Green Day was coming up. And that was something that was a band we had been compared to. And we just felt this energy like, well, maybe LA was not the right place for us, but we built our chops there. We got better as a band. But now San Francisco is going to happen. But ironically, then.
Yeah, well, one morning early, it was about 7 a.m, the phone rang, and I went to go pick it up, and it was a guy with a French accent. He said, "My name is Alain V from Sony Music, and we have your album, and we'd really like to do a licensing deal with you." And we didn't even know what a licensing deal was, but basically they wanted to take our album the way that it was, maybe with a few changes and a new cover, and release it in France and sign us. And they were offering us an advance. And, we said we have to think about it a little bit. And we talked about it. And we eventually did end up signing the contract. It was just at that point, we kind of had a decision, like, how are we going to respond to being signed to a contract? Are we just going to stay around San Francisco and just let them do our work? And we really had this idea that maybe what we need to do is take our same thing that we're doing here in San Francisco, move to Paris and do that, play the rock scene. And so what do you remember about just that decision and the calculation about moving to Paris?
Yeah, so it wasn't a huge decision, at least for me. I just thought, sure, let's move to Paris. We'd been talking about quitting our day jobs for so long, and so I thought, let's just do it. I mean, what do we have to lose, really? Um,
Yeah,
you know,
I'm remembering you were really advocating for that, and so you were right, Caroline. And I just want to say thank you here on Big
thank
Soul
you.
Musical
On
Journey.
national media.
Exactly. Yeah.
On,
So we told the record company, yeah, we're going to move to Paris, and I think they were pleased. But the next step was that Pascal from the record company and then his friends Nicolas, they came to San Francisco to film a music video for Hippie Hippie Shake. So it was just a very small operation, just 2-man crew. They had a 16 millimeter camera. We spent a lot of time just doing outdoor shots, like on an old truck, and we did a concert as well at the Paradise Lounge, and that was a really fun experience, a great experience. And then once we did that, it was just a couple of months before it was time to move.
so yeah, we quit our day jobs. We got all the visas in order, shipped our instruments across the ocean, and we got on a plane with our French books and our carry-on bags, and we moved to Paris.
And we had been booked really immediately at this place called the Chesterfield Cafe, small cafe right off the Champs-Élysées. And it was a 2-week engagement, right? That show.
Yeah, I just remember showing up and thinking, I've never been in this country before, and yet people know the lyrics to my songs. It was kind of astonishing to think that we had a following already. It was an underground, small following, but we had this following, and then we found out why.
Right. That was because we met Jacques Dumas at that show. And Jacques Dumas, remember, was that DJ who had sent us the fax before.
That's right.
And Jacques explained everything to us at that point, and it all started to make sense. Remember, we had been selling our CDs back in Los Angeles.
Mhm.
And at one of those shows at the Whiskey A Go-Go, a French tourist bought one of our CDs, brought it back to France, gave it to Jacques Dumas. Jacques Dumas then tried to get in touch with us with the fax. And when that didn't work, then he just kept on playing our music in his discotheque. And that's when Alain and Pascal from Sony Music, they heard the album, and he said, this is Big Soul. They're from San Francisco. So Jacques was really a critical connection that helped us move to France.
Huge connection. Yeah. Thanks to him, and thanks to that French tourist who bought the CD in the first place. So that was a really exciting time. But I will say, Caleb, after the Chesterfield Cafe, there was a bit of a lull where we didn't really have a lot to do, because we had come from this playing shows almost every weekend or every weekend all the time, always playing live. But what we didn't know was that the record company, the guys in marketing, sales, women and men who were working there, they had a strategy, but we just didn't know about it.
Right. They had a real underdog strategy, because we found out that they were an underdog label. It was Sony Music, but it was a small compilations label. So they were figuring out this strategy to launch an underdog band. And so one of the things that they were planning for us was to play at this music festival called Transmusical in the city of Rennes. And that was a really huge step for us. What do you remember about that show?
Oh, yeah. I remember when we got to the venue, we were the opening band, and there was no one in the audience because they hadn't opened the doors yet.
Right.
So that was kind of scary.
Yeah, it was scary. But once they opened the doors, there were 5,000 people, and they just kind of poured in. And, and we were the first band, and it went really well. We played our San Francisco style set, and it went over really well.
Yeah. And then meanwhile, the other part of this is that they were going to launch the song Le Brio in January. And what we didn't know, again, this is all stuff behind the scenes, is that the French government was passing a law in January 1996 that all songs on the radio had to be 40% had to be in the French language, which was a new law. All of a sudden, they were usually playing American and British bands, and it was all in English. So they thought, what are we going to do? And guess what? Our song Le Brio
was in French.
Yeah.
So that law was very beneficial for us. And around the same time, we got a call from Pascal, and he said, we got Ta-ra-ta-ta. And we were like, well, okay, well, what is that? So that was a big TV show that was very music themed, had musical guests, interviews with this very charismatic host, Nuggy.
Yeah. And the thing about Taratata that was different than any other show in France, as I recall, was that the musicians played live. It wasn't playback. It wasn't lip syncing. And so there was that extra pressure, but also we liked that because we didn't really like doing lip syncing and stuff. We found it really fake. We went on, we played our 2 songs. It was very exciting. It was, this cold, freezing cold TV studio. I remember I was barefoot and, we were wearing our outfits, and we had the interview afterwards. Spoke a little bit of French. My French then was still kind of, shyly coming together, and you were learning French at the time also. But it was great. It was a really fun time. But again, we didn't know because we didn't really watch French TV. I mean, we were busy doing other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't know because we had just taped the show. So we knew,
Right.
we knew it was a big deal, but we didn't
Right.
know what kind of effect it was really going to have.
Exactly.
So it was right after we taped that and we had filmed the music video for Le Brio that we started our tour. And so our tour, a lot of people, they kind of picture like, oh, big tour bus and, you've got all the gear and the roadies. It was not like that at all. We had it was basically a 1-person crew. His name was Helmut, and he was kind of French, German, and he did everything. He was the driver. He was the roadie. He was the sound engineer. He was our cultural ambassador, and he really became kind of like a 4th member of Big Soul. It was amazing.
He was
just that he was able to do it all. But we started our tour. It was a 38 city tour in France, and so it started out kind of some shows like really well attended, some not as well attended, but it was really fun and we were having a great time. But then a few weeks or maybe a couple weeks into the tour, that's when Taratata aired, and we were on the tour and we were in our hotel room and we watched it and was like, okay, this is really good. And then you mentioned, Caroline, that there was some kind of a call that Helmut got from Pascal.
Yeah. Helmut, our tour manager, told us that Pascal had called that morning and said that we had sold 1,000 records before noon.
Yeah. And right around that time, Pascal sent us a fax to the hotel, and it was that week's record charts. And our album had gone to number 2 on the charts.
Yeah.
So clearly something big had happened. And that was when there were a lot more people coming to the shows. Like these venues that were designed to hold 400 people, there were hundreds of people waiting in line. They really should have been more like 1,000 people.
Yeah. We were still this little rock band, but there was something beautiful about that, because when you see France from a van going 6 to 8 hours a day, it's actually a really big country, and it's really like diverse in terms of its geography and the culture and the customs. And so we got a front row seat to France from the view of a van. And it was so cool because we got to see France in a way that very few people do as Americans.
Yeah. One of the amazing things about that tour was that we were not in a big bus, and we didn't have a security detail. So we were really able to make a connection, and we met a lot of fans. We even met kids. Some people, they gave us tours of their towns. It was just an amazing time, and being able to connect with France and the French people in that way was really incredible.
That's right.
And so the tour wrapped up in Paris, and that actually was a pretty big show at the Bataclan. And that was when we actually found out that our record had gone gold. And so we got our gold records. It was a great conclusion to the tour.
Yeah, it was amazing. I've never had a gold record. Have you, Kenneth? Other than
that was the only one I ever got.
I didn't actually know like what a gold record was. I mean, it's not actual gold for people out there. I mean, I haven't actually broken through the glass of mine to see yet, but it's exciting. It's fun to tell people, you had a gold record. I mean, I've never figured out a place to hang it on the wall because the green frame doesn't match my other color scheme. But the point being is that for me, though, the real success or bounty or whatever you want to call it from that tour in France was the connection. We like that to me is the real gold. We didn't know what or where our music was going to go when we made that album many years ago in Los Angeles, but I'm really glad that it landed where it did in the hands of that French tourist who brought it to the French DJ and Jacques Dumas and played it for Sony Music, because everything that happened since then was really kind of a fairy tale.
It really was, yeah. And I think that that's a fitting end to this part of the musical journey. So we appreciate you following us and listening to the story.
Yeah, thanks, Khaled, and thanks all of you. We're so happy that you've been with us on Big Soul, a musical journey. And now what we would love from you is if you have any questions about the band, our music, our tours, please send them, because in the next episodes, we're actually going to be answering your questions, engaging with what the things you want to know about.
Yeah, let us know if you've got any questions or want to connect, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.
All right. Thanks, Khaled.
Thanks, Caroline. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Take care.